All right, good afternoon, and welcome to the second Meetup with Morgan. We appreciate you joining us today. If you have any questions during the broadcast, feel free to text me or email me. My information is in the information box below on the YouTube video screen. Today we're going to be discussing the Chief of Staff position. We're going to talk about strategic planning and succession planning, excuse me. So to get us started, I'm going to hand it over to DFPC Director Mike Morgan, and he's going to talk about the Chief of Staff position.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for joining us. Bear with us. I'm not really good at this, but Kaylee's, she says I'm a work in progress, so we'll continue to do that. I hope everybody, first and foremost, I hope you're having a great summer. Everybody's healthy and happy, and your families are doing well. And that you all stay safe out there. I sent a few things out this morning. Just a reminder out there, be safe. Not only with that, but remember it's hot, it's dry. Stay hydrated. Most important thing. Everyone goes home. EGH. So those are my opening comments.
All right, we're going to get into the Chief of Staff position update. And again, if you have any questions during the broadcast, feel free to text me.
Okay, so we are getting a lot of questions about the Chief of Staff position. I just met with HR and Ruth Strauss this morning about that. We had about 3,800 views of the application or the posting on NeoGov. Of that, we got about 105 applications. Right now, HR is whittling that down to what I will call generally as who are the really serious applicants that we feel would be a great fit for DFPC and the Department of Public Safety. So she is working on that, has been actually for the last couple of days since it closed. She anticipates having a shorter list to me by the end of day, close of business today. We'll start some additional whittling, looking at the folks that are out there, and from there we'll try to again get it down to a more manageable list. Most likely, I think we'll do some essay types of questions. We'll ask them some things that we feel are important to us, again, based upon our strategic planning and all of these other things that we've been working on, that we've identified, what's important to us as an organization, what skill set are we looking for, and how do these individual applicants meet what we desire moving forward as an organization. Once we get that down to a list that is really manageable, we can get it down to the top of the top, the cream of the crop, if you will. My intentions will have 3 different interview panels. For those of you that were around when I hired on here, that's what they did. I really liked that process. It worked out well for me. Jury's still out on if it worked out for the division or not, but it worked out for me. So 3 different interview panels. An internal DFPC panel made up of folks from within DFPC. So it won't be a huge panel. I think there was 12 on mine, if I remember right. That was a little overwhelming when I interviewed. But anyway, we'll get some folks. We'll put some feelers out there for folks that are interested in doing that. We'll be thinking about questions, what's important to you, what are you looking for on a Chief of Staff position, those types of things, because you'll be helping with those questions. The second part of the panel will be the external stakeholders. That will be Colorado State Fire Chiefs, Colorado Professional Firefighters, County Sheriffs of Colorado, et cetera, those types of stakeholder groups that have a great interest in what we do and how we're doing that. The third panel would be some DPS folks or the Department of Public Safety. I've spoken with all the directors and the executive director as well to make sure we get some of those stakeholders involved from the department to be a part of that as well. We're at right there. What I want to make sure that we do as an organization is that we make sure that we have the right fit. I want to make sure, and I'm working with HR and those folks as we go through this to identify, to make sure we've all seen the folks that are really good at interviewing, but maybe interviewing. Maybe they're a professional interviewer. We want to make sure we avoid that. I know we have applicants from all across the country, so we want to make sure it's a good fit. To be fair to anybody who ever gets this job, it's a good fit for them, and it's a good fit for us as well. So I think the bottom line with it is how myself and HR and our conversations, how we're trying to look at this. You guys have all heard me say it before, but hire the heart, train the hands. Let's get the right person in here who's here for the right reasons, and then we'll move forward from there. So that's the latest update on that.
Perfect. And we apologize for any external noises that you hear, maybe a microwave. There's a microwave literally right outside of the director's office, and it's lunchtime. So, all right, we are going to change gears and get into the second topic, starting with DFPC's role in fire safety. So Director Morgan, what is DFPC's role as it relates to fire safety, and how do we DFPC fit into that?
I think that reaches to a broader thing that again has been a lot of the conversations and topics, and we've had it from a lot of different program areas about what are we doing and how do we fit. So to me, to answer that question, we really have to go back to statute. And I'm sorry to bore you with this. This is Colorado Revised Statutes 24-33.5-1201. And paragraph B says, the director is responsible for the delivery, management, and administration of fire protection and life safety related codes and standards, investigations, fire safety education for the public, and fire prevention services for the state. To say about the job requirements for the director, must be qualified in structural and wildland fire suppression, mitigation, prevention, 10 years of experience, and then also alludes to NFPA 1037, which is the professional qualifications for fire marshal. So, of course, then it also goes in a little later in that and talks about when wildland section was moved into and the DFPC was created, et cetera, et cetera. So the best way I can paraphrase that is that DFPC, we are the lead agency for the state of Colorado as it relates to fire and fire-related issues. So when you look at that and what we're charged with, which again was part of the internal working group and some of the stuff with strategic planning, is we've identified things that we're doing very, very well, some things that we need to work on, and some things we're probably really not even doing at all. So it becomes, how do we meet our statutory obligation, as well as recognizing other roles that other folks play in those areas. So.
Perfect. So as it relates to wildfire mitigation, what does that mean?
Well, I think wildfire mitigation, I guess, depends on how you, wildfire mitigation, you could throw it in a category, is that the physical aspect of removal, or is that the making sure people know what needs to be removed? Now, I guess you could draw a line in there, and of course we'd have folks like Kirk Will and those that are involved in mitigation and pile burning and prescribed fire and those types of things as part of mitigation. I think I'd like to back up again on that one as well, and look at it from a broader perspective, that we have a responsibility. And probably one of the things that maybe some of you have seen, I'll try to hold this up so you can see it if you haven't. We have these here. This is Colorado's Ready, Set, Go, personalized Ready, Set, Go document that we partnered with a lot of folks to get done. Of course, I'll just read them to you over the bottom. Of course, Colorado State Fire Chiefs, Gary Brees, the executive director, was kind of the coordinator on that, so he got to put their logo first. The second one, of course, is Colorado State Forest Service. Fire Marshals Association of Colorado, Ready, Set, Go, the organization itself. Life Safety Educators of Colorado is on there. The Colorado Division of Fire Prevention and Control is on there, and Homeland Security Emergency Management. Colorado Department of Homeland Security Emergency Management is on there as well, because we recognize that we all play a role, a very important role in fire safety overall. Mitigation is definitely part of education, and I think when you look at the mission of the fire service, or look at our mission, does it fit within our mission and our wheelhouse of what we should be doing? And very clearly the answer is yeah, it fits in there. Are we the lead agency on forest health? No. Should we play a role in helping with that? Absolutely. And I think, and again, these are, we have a couple cases of these here. We'll get those out to the various offices and shops out there for distribution, to get those to the folks out there. And I'm going to bore you, if you will, with a couple other things, because I was asked to talk at the Missouri Valley Division conference of the International Association of Fire Chiefs in Keystone a couple weeks ago. Actually, the Peak 2 fire started in Keystone. So they asked me to talk a little bit about Ready, Set, Go, and kind of the kickoff, if you will, of what was going on and what we were doing as a critical issues briefing for Colorado State Fire Chiefs. So I'm going to give you some background, and maybe it's too much information, but I think it's important for us when we ask these questions about what our role is, that we know some statistical data that's out there. And I'm going to start with the Emergency Fire Fund. And for those of you that don't know, that was established in 1967. That is county money. Some counties got together and said, we're going to have some big fires and some bad days. That gets really expensive. Let's all put our money together so we have some kind of a cash fund for when these fires occur, that we can address that and deal with it. Originally, that was generated about $320,000 a year. For those of you in the wildland firefighting community, you know how far $320,000 goes. So not very far. Anyway, that has grown, if you will. Today, they've expanded the contribution rates and a few things along the way. However, today we have 49 counties that contribute. There's 64 counties in Colorado. 49 of those contribute to the Emergency Fire Fund, and it generates about $1 million a year. So again, while we have this Emergency Fire Fund, it creates $1 million a year that does not go very far. So now let's tie that in a little bit to fire occurrences, statistical data on that. So again, I said it started in 1967. So it's the 50th year of the Emergency Fire Fund. 1967 and 1979 emergency firefighting event. There was one event that qualified for Emergency Fire Fund in 12 years. From 1980 to 1989, the next 9 years, 8 qualifying Emergency Fire Fund events. From 1990 to 1999, 15 Emergency Firefighting Fund events, qualifications. 2000 to 2009, 65 events. 2010 to 2016, we're at 46. So we're on track to at least meet, well, of course, we've already had 4 this year that have qualified. So technically we're at 50 so far this year. It's raining, keep raining. Don't want to jinx us with that. But we're on track, and we continue to see an increased pace in that. I'm going to give you a little more information. 2010, look back up and look at a little bit more history. We could go back further and talk about Hayman Fire and those types of things as well. But I'm going to start at 2010 as it relates to Ready, Set, Go and those types of events. 2010, the 4 Mile Fire. 168 homes in Boulder County lost. 2012, High Park Fire in Larimer County. 2012 High Park Fire burned 259 homes and was unfortunately held the record for the highest loss or property loss fire in the state of Colorado in history, but they only held that record for a matter of days until the Waldo Canyon fire in El Paso County, Colorado Springs, that burned 346 homes, also obviously in 2012. The Waldo Canyon fire held that record for about a year until the Black Forest fire occurred in 2013, burning 511 homes. So when you look at what happened and losing 1,000 homes, in just a very short period of time, bang, 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 we watched the EFF continue to go up the number of fires that qualify. There's an issue, there's a problem, and it's our responsibility, everybody's responsibility to be doing something about it. I'm going to call up a couple other things that I think are interesting when we look at it. I don't feel that for the most part, public safety or the fire service is a real proactive group, reactive. I get how that happens. It's often time to get resources until something bad has happened. But I'd like to see us try to be more proactive. Call out another document. I don't think I brought it over here with me. It's called the Wing Spread Report. Spread report is basically a document that a whole bunch of really smart fire service leaders get together about every 10 years, and they have a conversation about emerging and breaking issues in the United States, things that are going to be impacting the fire service now and in the future, and what do we need to be preparing for. The report was 2016. 2016 report, one of the major changes they made was they felt that because of things were changing so fast in the United States of America, that they should go to a 5-year cycle on looking at this wing spread. So that was our proactive part of that. And I know some of these guys, and I've given them a hard time. I like them all. But what I did make of note that the wing spread report does not mention wildland fire. The wildland urban interface are not mentioned in here. I think we've got to be more proactive. I think we need to look at that because it's obviously a growing problem. And then I look at that. Of course, that report was written late last year, early this year, that it was finished up. Of course, it has no mention of, and a lot of these guys are from the area, mention of the Chimney Top 2 fire in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, with 14 fatalities, 2,013 homes in one incident, and 53 commercial structures. Now, if that's not a catastrophic event impacting the fire service as a whole, then I guess I don't know what is. So kind of goes back to what's our role, what's everybody's role. And when we look at the different events, what we see, fires aren't getting any less likely, they're getting bigger. We have, I have the statistics here. There's 5.25 million people roughly that live in Colorado. It's estimated, okay, I'm going to qualify that, it's estimated that over 2 million of the people living in Colorado live in the wildland urban interface. And I'm going to throw that out just for this group to think about, as an organization for us to think about, as the state's fire agency, is that number accurate? And I think not. I think that number's too low, to be real honest with you. Maybe illustrate that, I'm going to talk the Beaver Creek fire last summer, and watching what occurred there with the fire that about, well, I came to Denver 15th that weekend. In Lakewood, we had 18 inches of snow. There's a spring snowstorm. Vaughn, who lives in Evergreen, had 48 inches of snow that weekend. To Memorial Day weekend, cabins and mountain property up in Jackson County, up around Walden, could not gain access to their cabins because of the snow and the mud. Okay, 19 days later, June 18th, the Beaver fire starts, and it takes off and burns thousands and thousands of acres at a time, every day, and went on until the snow put it out. Many of you have had the opportunity to look at any pictures from the Peak 2 fire, especially when it was taking its initial run in the day, where it's estimated that lengths for 125 foot flame lengths off of this. Look in the pictures and look at all the pretty snow drifts in the background. We have a fuels problem in our forests as well, which goes into the big picture of things and where it's all part of our responsibility. And that I'm not sure that we're adapting and being proactive enough about what our true hazard is, and that I think DFPC, again, maybe not necessarily is the lead agency, Colorado State Forest Service is the lead on a ton of this, but I've spoken with Mike Lester on several occasions about how we're in this together, and we all have to support the mission and the cause to make sure it's doing it. So it's everybody's responsibility to be an advocate. I think my last comment on that particular topic would be I would liken it to look at everybody out here in DFPC and say, so whose responsibility is it to keep your kids safe? I think there's a lot of arguments to be made about whose job that is. I think it's parents first and foremost. I think it's schools. I think it's law enforcement. I believe it's fire. I believe it's EMS. I believe it's the Division of Fire Prevention and Control. I believe it's codes. I believe there's a lot of things that play into keeping your kids safe. And we all play a role in that. We all have to advocate for our kids' safety, just like in our changing environment in Colorado, that we have to advocate for life safety and incident stabilization and property conservation, and that's what we're all about. Long story.
Thank you. That was perfect. It's excellent.
There.
I don't know. Look at our viewership. It's actually increased. So I don't know. I think we're doing good.
Cable must be out.
I think so. It must be. There's a bad connection somewhere. All right, we're going to move into strategic planning. So our first question is, how does the Division of Fire Prevention and Control strategic plan marry with the Executive Director's Office, the EDO? How does it marry with their plan?
Okay, well, it's nice to have questions. You know what your questions are going to be up front.
Yeah, I think
a little
so.
cheat sheet. That can be difficult.
You must have a good PIO.
He must have, yeah. So I must have a really good PIO. Let's talk about that. And the question was about the Department of Public Safety has a strategic plan, and it's what was distributed here recently is the performance plan. And the Department of Public Safety has strategic policy initiatives. There are 5 divisions, obviously, within the Colorado Department of Public Safety. We've got Colorado State Patrol, Colorado Bureau of Investigation, Homeland Security Emergency Management, Criminal Justice, and Division of Fire Prevention and Control, of course. So to maybe to start at thinking of it, starting at 30,000 feet in an airplane, making your travels. And when you got the Department of Public Safety with about 1,800 employees, 5 different divisions ranging from criminal justice to fire prevention and control to Colorado Bureau of Investigation. There's a lot of roles and different responsibilities. So as you start coming down into the boots on the ground, let's talk about that. We'll kind of walk through it. So the mission of the Department of Public Safety, quote, engaged employees working together to safeguard lives and provide diverse public safety services to local communities. So their mission is to have 5 divisions that provide very diverse services to local communities. We are one of those divisions. Their vision is creating safer and more resilient communities across Colorado. Again, larger, higher viewpoint perspective. Their core values of what their expectations of people within the Department of Public Safety to do is 1, unity. 2 is honor, speak up. And 3 is service, is pitch in. Let's do our part. So that's kind of starting in from that 30,000 foot view coming in. Now, as it gets to the strategic, and those of you should have got this in email. If you didn't, you want to see it. It's really good stuff to read, but it we can get that to you if you don't have it. But it goes in and talks about the overall purpose of each division and kind of what they do. Again, from that larger, started at 30,000, now around 20,000 feet. Here's kind of what each division does for an overall part. It gets into the strategic policy initiatives and outcomes and measurements of what we're doing. And specifically, SPI, or Strategic Policy Initiative number 3, it relates to us. What our role is in that is to reduce impact and incidents of wildland fires. That's their goal. That's what they're trying to accomplish. We get measured on that based upon the number of large fires. Long story short, we're looking at making some adjustments to what our specific strategic policy initiative is, but that's what ours is currently. That's what we're trying to do. So when you look at the Colorado Department of Public Safety document, it glides in from 30,000, brings us down to about 25,000 feet. Is that our job as a division is reduce the incidence and number of large wildfires. So I think, going back to kind of our conversation earlier, I think our role is a little broader than, it's not just big fires, it's property loss, it's life loss. So we're having conversations about how that looks like in the grand scheme of things, which would then take us into what you've all received. Hope you didn't delete it, which is our plan. So you have the strategic policy initiatives and the performance plan, a bigger view from the Department of Public Safety. Now we're coming into the division, and we've spent, of course, a lot of time on this particular, where we've established our mission, vision, and values. And I'm not going to read those to you because you know those. Starts bringing us from 15,000 feet down into, say, 5,000 feet, because the Division of Fire Prevention and Control has to do different things. So we, even at the FPC, are a very diverse group with the things that we do and the services we provide, ranging from school inspections to the mobile live fire training unit. And those are very different, yet they do, in the grand scheme of things, meet in the overall mission of the Department of Public Safety, as well as the mission of the Division of Fire Prevention and Control. So we're starting to come down in a little bit further. So that's the whole intent with all of the documents, and kind of where we're going. But I think those are really good questions to kind of understand from a big picture how we start coming into this. Kind of, I think you're gonna.
How did you know?
How did I know?
Oh my gosh, crazy!
I feel like radar for those of you that watch MASH. So.
Let's talk about the tactical implementation plan,
shall we?
Let's indeed. Okay. Can you tell us the thought process behind that?
I think again, now we've hit that point, and I'm going to put this in really layman's terms because it's simpler for me to understand. When I see that the Department of Public Safety, their mission is to provide diverse public safety services to local communities. What does that have to do with one thing we submitted as a decision item? Was truck drivers or folks to move mobile live fire training unit, the trailers, the burn trailers, around the state to provide training. So how do you connect the dots? Okay, now I'll put again in a bigger perspective is that while we're talking at 30,000 feet, from a state government elected official perspective, most of them are at 40,000 feet. So they're looking at the Department of Public Safety as this, and then we're asking them of how we want some drivers to move these trailers around. and how you connect all of those dots from them all the way down to, and it's really, really difficult. So overall, this is how the whole process works. As we've talked about, the department's plan. We're talking about our plan. Now ours going into the different division or the sections. I'm sorry, the different sections within DFPC, again being very diverse. Now they can get very specific about what, okay, and what they're trying to accomplish. So they get into tactical implementation plans. And in those, for example, one of them for professional qualifications and training, since we're picking on Mark, is, resources. He wants to figure out resources and how to do that. So as we get into, those things, getting we're coming in closer. Now we're coming in to, we're doing final approach. We're spinning around in the sky, hopefully big circles. So that tactical implementation plan takes it to the next level, where the folks that are doing the things, they get to identify what's important, and how they're going to utilize those things and start applying those resources to meet the bigger picture that meets the bigger picture that meets the bigger picture.
It does.
Okay.
Indeed.
Yeah, because I
Are you? I don't want to say anything, but. All right, moving along. We're going to talk about succession plan.
Did you?
And
do you
actually,
want to hit on the job analysis?
Yeah, let's hit on the job analysis. I
kind of missed that piece of it, and I know that was the job analysis. Okay, this is the part where, in what we're doing. Okay, and we're looking, of course, kind of where we're at with that is all the section chiefs are looking to put their folks in and looking, what fits, what are they doing, how are they doing it. Of course, this is all still now we're talking about work in progress, and these are things that are happening that you will be invited to participate in as the section chiefs get their pieces done later as we get towards this fall, and we're going to do an all hands meeting, and more details will come out about that later. But we'll start getting folks involved with that, looking at, ultimately kind of, what are we doing? Is it important? Is it redundant? Are there ways to streamline the things that we're doing? Are we trying to do too much with too few of people? We start getting to where that rubber really hits the road about, what are we supposed to be doing as a division? And what do we actually have the resources to do as a division, which will play into that prioritization process. And then how is that work being conducted? And so that's where we really we're taxing in, okay? So again, using that same analogy is that we've figured out a way for Mark's section to play a meaningful role in meeting the Department of Public Safety's mission. A couple of folks that can move the trailers around the state to train firefighters. So, and I think, again, to put it in, again, layman's terms, many of us look at it in a way that we say, well, the goal was to move the trailer around. And when you talk to an elected official, hiring people is never a goal. It's a means to a goal. It's a step in accomplishing a goal. So while this is a large organization and system, it takes a while to connect all the dots, but it's kind of that simple. Is that we started 30,000, 40,000 foot, we brought it to 30 with the Department of Public Safety, we brought it in about 15, down to 10, down to 5. Now we're talking job analysis. We make priorities and make decisions based upon resource availability, and we're taxiing into the airport and going to go on vacation.
Yeah, that's where we're going. All right. To DFPC succession plan and how all of this fits into that.
This is a good builder, I guess, with some of the other questions and things that are going on and things that are happening out there and directions we're going in. And I guess I want to qualify all of this is that this is new. I won't even say it's hot off the press. I'm not sure it's on the press yet. It's a work in progress. We're doing things as you've seen in the various documents we've done, the meetings and conversations we have. Is we're really working hard to pull the division together as a team, as a family, and move it all forward in the same direction. So, the succession plan, and what is that? Succession plan is that, again, for me, we used to always joke is that that's in case I walk out the door and I get hit by a bus, okay, and that you shouldn't put everything, all of your eggs in one basket. Put everybody, where you have to build in redundancy. You have to build in capability when somebody is sick or on vacation or whatever else, or God forbid somebody, let's talk happier things. Let's retire. Okay, win the lottery. Let's win the lottery. I'm not coming back. Let's make sure we build a system that is self-sufficient, stays on its feet, that it doesn't get knocked over when something happens like that. That's the benefit to the organization, if you will, which is in a spin-off. It's a benefit to all of us that are here. But where it becomes more of a spin-off, where I'll say that the real benefit to all of us here is it becomes, and I've always felt like, and everybody's heard it, leave it better than you found it. And that's succession planning. Is it, move the ball down the field, but make the next person's job, make it easier, make it better for them, so that they don't have to deal with the heartaches that you deal with while you're here, which means professional development for folks within the organization. You always want to support as best you possibly can the ability for folks within the organization to promote and move up and do those types of things. So a lot of places aren't really good at that. And again, this is a work in progress. We're not there yet, but it's purposeful. That we want to create an environment, and again, we look at the big picture of trying to create, as we've had the different conversations, making sure we're all on the same page with core values and mission vision, and getting our core values in all of our logo wear and those types of things, so that we're really pulling together and uniting. So again, it's if you want to promote, you want to if one of you guys out there, gals out there, wants to be the director of the Division of Fire Prevention and Control, we want to give you that opportunity. I'll talk to you about it later offline if you want, but about whether you really want to do that, those opportunities.
So are we going to open up the opportunity to cross train or serve outside of one's current section?
Yes. Within reason. I mean, we all have a reason. We all have a purpose. We're a very diverse organization. Each, again, maybe not to back up into the tactical implementation plans, but as we get further into it, we have mission critical in every section. So we can't shut off one critical item to fulfill another mission critical item. So, but that said, the concept, and this kind of goes back to tell you war stories, but where I came from, Colorado River Fire Rescue, as it grew into an organization, but still had very limited resources, just like we do. We don't have a lot of resources. I made sure that everybody understood that we were a fire department first, and I also wanted people to know that that we were very fluid. That when if Kaylee as a PIO has the most mission critical function for us and our success today, then it doesn't matter if you work in fire and life safety or if you're the director. My job is to support Kaylee today to make sure her critical mission is fulfilled that's the simple concept with it, is that we have to be more fluid and diverse. So moving forward a little bit, and we have looked at, and there's some examples I'll give you later of some things we've done so far, but again, we're still working on it. But the concept was, if there is a catastrophic emergency, or some kind of an emergency or an event where people's lives are turned upside down in Colorado, and somebody within the Division of Fire Prevention and Control has a skill set, can provide support and assistance to that incident and make it go better, why wouldn't we figure out a way to assign them to do that? And that's the basic premise of it. And so I think, maybe some classic examples of that. If you look in Mark's section, fire and life safety section, we've got folks that are trained in, medical and the organization. Most everybody here has got a fire service background, so they've got that. But we stereotype them into saying, well, you're a PIO, and your job is to try to make me look good on a webcast. Good luck with that.
Really hard.
But so we try to silo into that, when in reality you've gone out, you've got your 130, 190, you've got that skill set, and if that's what the need is at the time, and we can fulfill the needs of PIO while you're gone, we're doing a lot of things. We're creating opportunities for others to learn how to be a PIO. We're learning depth and succession planning, and when you win the lottery, we won't be fall flat. We're also providing you opportunities to go out and do something different, something that you enjoy, something that you like. And most importantly, we're still meeting the mission of the Division of Fire Prevention and Control and the mission of the Colorado Department of Public Safety. So we're moving in that direction. It's baby steps. Harmony Altair up in Fort Collins is an example of that. She works as an admin up in her fire billing shop in Fort Collins. She has a passion, and visited with her a little bit yesterday. She has a passion. She wants, she likes being around the single engine air tankers. She's taken upon herself to get some training and has a skill set qualifications to do that. So when we're busy, which happens on occasion, we get super busy, and we're scrambling to find people that can help us out to manage, getting enough retardant or water into the single engine air tankers. Why wouldn't we build a skill set and a capability within our own forces and our own groups when it's their passion to do, and help them help us? So I think maybe one other thing, if I may, I'll add to that. And again, I don't want to be a windy story, but I'll shorten this down to maybe an aha moment for me. And I'm going to tell it to you kind of in the order of how it happened. So, and most of you guys will remember most of this, if not all of this, as it kind of occurred here. A few months ago, there was an unfortunate event, an explosion with a gas pipeline in Frederick. Killed 2 people. Destroyed the home, obviously, became big news, very, very volatile event, conversations that will carry on, quite frankly, will carry on for years, however that shakes out. And thoughts and prayers to all of them, obviously. DFPC wasn't, point in time, wasn't even really a blip on our radar screen. We knew it happened. That's about it. We saw it on the news. Because it was a high-profile event, on Saturday night at 9:30, from somebody pretty high up politically, saying, where are we at? What's going on? What do you know? What can we do? Get your finger on the pulse. So thinking, and I'm like, that is kind of that situational awareness. What do we know? So I did some outreach, and honestly, I went to, this ties back into what we talked about earlier with what we do. I talked with Jerry Means, who's of course the investigator with CBI, and we have some conversations about that because he'd been out there. Into him, he made the comment about, he had been on, I get it wrong, but 7 or 8 different fire investigations since that, including there was deaths involved. I'll leave it at that. And that were also critical incidents for him to deal with, and it just raised my eyebrows a little bit more to go, geez, so now not only did we have that event, now we have events that are fatalities and still not really blipping on our radar screen. That one we didn't even hear about in the news. I didn't. So fast forward a little bit north, I believe, of Frederick. There we had the tank battery fire on a well pad that killed somebody, burned several others, and it was real close to the same thing, real newsworthy on the radar screen. We started down, having that same conversations. Fast forward to be, fairly quick. That exact same night, we end up with an event with a storage tank of underground storage of natural gas that was uncontrolled venting. That started blipping on the radar screens too, going, hey, we got all this stuff going on. And that's when I came back, because I was scratching my head going, we're not keeping up with everything that's going on. And so I came back and I reread what it says in statute, and said, I'm not completely crazy. We do have a responsibility. We do have a role in these types of things, and it got me thinking more of we have skill sets in a lot of areas. Are we sending or requesting the right resources to go at the right time? No, we need to work through that. Conversations about a lot of things here, but and to put it for those of you, I was never a paramedic. I had paramedics on my department for years and years and years, but I was never a paramedic. So just because we do paramedic things doesn't mean everybody has to be a paramedic. But so again, kind of that broaden succession planning, figuring out how to move forward, giving people opportunities for advancement, looking at the skill sets that we have available. I'm not advocating for paramedics, by the way. But start reaching out, looking at what we have, and then identifying, the classic example. We're not doing anything with investigation. I'm not saying we should or we shouldn't. We just need to identify it and know what it looks like. I think, for one, just shooting from the hip, we haven't talked about it in any meetings. But, if you sit back and look at it and go, there's a serious shortage of wildland fire investigators out there. So there's some opportunities for folks to do some different things. Now, whether they're in the wildland section or in the county, I don't know. That's the whole thought process and pull us all together. Sorry.
No, that's great. So are you saying that you would be a PIO if I had to go out on an assignment? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
We've all seen it. That. He said it.
You don't want that.
All right. We're going to talk a little bit about your perspective then and now. So give us your perspective, being the director for the last year and a half now. What are some of the most significant changes that you've seen?
Now, this one I didn't really have a lot of time to prepare for or think about. Yes. And Kaylee can attest to this. It was 12:59, and I was finishing scribbling thoughts on some of these, but I was not on this topic yet. So, most significant changes that I have seen in DFPC. What I see and what I feel is a unity and a pulling together. That is significant to me, and again, this is all heard me say, I have nothing but accolades to everybody that has done so much work and good work and rock solid hard work to get the division where it is in such a short period of time. And we're going to just keep continuing to move, and keep moving in that direction to make it what it needs to be, what we want to be when we grow up. One of the things we all identified very early on was we joked that we could no longer be the division control. We had to be the unified fire prevention and control, and I'm seeing that. And when I first got here, it was interesting to me again. It just because of the growth of the organization was people were siloed. They were doing their thing. They were doing good work, but the left hand didn't know what the right hand was doing. And that's a matter of getting to know people and doing the things we've had the opportunity to do. So I see today we talked about harmony. Another example, and I don't remember the names of, but I know the Mill Creek Fire folks from Fire and Life Safety jump over and go help and do some things on that event, and we're dipping our toes in the water and we're moving in that direction, and there's that true honesty, and people pulling together what the work that needs to be done, and that it kind of goes back to the fluid organization I talked about. People are recognizing that my job, because what I'm doing right now, and Kaylee's supporting me in, is my job's to be the director and try to communicate with you better about what we're doing and how we're doing it and why, and the purpose and the reason and mission, vision, values, and how it all fits and what we're trying to accomplish. That's my role right now. But if we walk out of the building right now and the trash needs taken out, then sometimes I got to take the trash out. And realizing that that's what we do to help each other out, to help you out, as a public information officer when you're on this assignment, helping somebody else out to do that, and that's division wide. I think our admin folks are doing a bang up job of that. I mean, our section chiefs are talking, everybody's communicating, and change, and it makes me smile. So.
Excellent. All right, I think we're going to talk a little bit about some of the questions that we've got, and Aaron has one announcement to make, and then we'll close up. Let's check to see. We did get a few questions.
In the hot seat, isn't it?
Status of the 20-year retirement for DFPC firefighters.
Great question. Actually, I want to visit with some additional folks on that, but I did have a follow-up conversation. Interestingly enough, that's the thing that's a DPA issue. I did have a conversation with Alberta Lopez, who of course is the executive director's executive assistant, and about starting to arrange a meeting so we can start having some of those conversations. And I think broader with that, and again, I don't mean it derogatory by any means, is that there are a lot of things within the personnel system that adjusted appropriately with the addition of firefighters in that response component. So I think there's some opportunities there. And I won't guess at who's asking that question, but I might have a good idea. Give me a shout, because I would like to ultimately, we need to put, before I arrange a meeting, I'm getting closer to being able to have a meeting with DPA, but I want to make sure that we have a few folks that can get together and talk about it. I'd be happy, or making sure somebody that we all set in there, get the right players in the room, so that when we have the conversation, we have the right conversation with the right content. So those opportunities are coming. They're there. They're still on the radar screen.
All right, I think the couple other questions we're going to be able to answer in the newsletter, in the next newsletter. So check back for those. We've got one announcement to make, and then we'll make our closing remarks.
You probably saw the email, but if you did not, funeral services for South Metro firefighter engineer Mike Freeman are Friday tomorrow at 11 o'clock. I don't remember the name of the church. Look your emails. If you need to know where it's at, let me know. They're at 11 o'clock. We are going to try to have the ability to carpool with some folks. If you want to carpool, don't feel like you need to drive across Denver or drive, do what you need to do. But if you want to ride as a group, we'll be meeting here at 690 Kipling around 9:30 tomorrow morning to do that. Little background on that. Mr. Freeman passed away on Sunday. He had a battle with cancer, work-related line of duty death type of cancer. He was diagnosed with an inoperable brain tumor in May of this year, so it was rapid. South Metro Fire Rescue, or in the fire service, for 40 years. His badge number was 74-1, which means that he graduated from the Fire Academy in 1974. I don't know how their numbering system worked. That either meant that he was top of the class, would be my assumption, but he's best, obviously. So they're honoring with the service again, 11 o'clock tomorrow at the Denver First Church. And if you need the address, to you. I will also throw a couple other things out there. You probably saw that I sent out about a 19-year-old firefighter that was killed yesterday in Montana on a wildland fire. Details around that yet. I shared that. Of course, no name or any of that, but I shared that out with everybody, which of different offline conversations about that. What I sent you was firefighterclosecalls.com, or the secret list. You can go to that firefighterclosecalls.com. You can go to click on, I believe it's notifications, or click on secret list. It's not secret. You can click on that, sign up for notifications. And actually, Dave Tolley was the one, and he and I were having some offline conversations about it, about another fatality that occurred in California here not too long ago. I think that one was like the 11th or something like that. Young man with a chainsaw incident. But anyway, going to this firefighter close calls, they're really good about getting information out quick. You may not know the names, you may not know that, but they're good about getting information out so you have situational awareness. It's not just on deaths, it's about injuries, it's about pertinent issues or pressing events. Again, it's firefighterclosecalls.com. They don't flood your email box, but they give a lot of really good updates out there. The gentleman who runs that website, or started that whole thing, I'm sure he has people that run it for him now, is Billy Goldfeder. Most of you have probably heard the name Billy Goldfeder. He's the secret list, and does big in near miss reporting and all of those things. Big guru and advocate for safety and firefighter cancer, which all ties into firefighter Freeman. That it's an awareness tool out there, folks. We got to be paying attention. It's a changing world, and the things that we're learning, and especially I'll speak specifically, I guess, to some of you folks that are younger out there, is that I wish I would have known then what I know now about a lot of these issues, including obviously the cancer and those types of things. So pay attention. Those are good resources and assets out there. Pay attention to those. Closing with that, Billy Goldfeder, he's also the closing keynote speaker. I think it's closing, but he's one of the keynote speakers at the Fire Leadership Challenge in Keystone in October. Great presenter, great speaker, really dynamic, and itty bitty mustache. My closing comment with that then too would be, I'm being sarcastic. Go look at his mustache. But anyway, so Last I looked, and I believe this is accurate with the email I sent out from Close Calls, is that's 55 line of duty deaths year to date this year. 55 firefighter line of duty deaths. So we kind of started with be safe, be careful, take care of you, take care of your family.
All right. We're going to close now, but be on the lookout for an email from me with the link to this broadcast, as well as a few other things that we've talked about through the live stream. So much for watching, and we'll be back next quarter.
Thanks, everyone.